How do you hold emotional safe space for your unique, beautiful, magically different kids, while at the same time holding on to and maintaining the rules of this world, the boundaries of our world? How do you do that in a way that still honors the emotional needs of your kids? I want to share with you a recent experience that I had as a mother in a diner in Idaho Falls on this recent trip that we had at Yellowstone National Park. My name is Christy Whistler, and I am an intuitive, an astrologer, a healer, and even more importantly, I am the parent of 2 magical, multi-dimensional kids. So be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Please share this video to any parents that you know that this might resonate with. I'm really hoping to get this message out there to more people like you. Parents who are wanting to show up in a different way with their kids, to be in relationship and presence with their children in a whole new way. And that's very much what this video is actually about. I have 2 kids, Kate and Eric. Eric is my very magical, multi-dimensional kid. Language, English, is not his default language. He is very empathic, very telepathic. He feels the world and its energies as if they are his own. So for him, being in this world, it's not easy. And I'm finding myself in this very unique position of being a bridge for him especially. How can I honor who he is, his sensitivities, and still holding the structure and the rules of this world? Now, to be fair, there's a lot of rules in our world that I think are complete bullshit, especially when it comes to our children, okay? I really believe that we need to stop treating our children like they are mini adults, and they should act like mini adults. Kids are meant to play, they're meant to enjoy, they're meant to laugh and to cry and to feel things, okay? Like, they're learning, and they really need to have the space to learn how to be human, and how to be a child, how to be playful, right? These are gifts of our children. But we don't often allow for that. So this experience that I had in the diner, right? I had just taken the kids to the bathroom, and I don't usually go into restaurants with Eric. It's not an environment that suits who he is. He's someone who likes to move around a lot. Like, he'll go and eat some food, then go move his body, come back, eat more. Like, he's not I'm just gonna sit here quietly, a good little boy, do as I'm told. That's not this child, and I do my best to really honor that in him. And for Kate too. I want to put them in situations where they can succeed, okay? So I'm very mindful. And restaurants generally just don't work. There's a lot of expectations in restaurants, right? Like I was just saying, you need to sit there, you need to be patient, you need to wait for your food to come. You can really be wanting your French fries, and you see plates of French fries going all around you to everybody else but you. Now, if you have a young child, you know what I mean about them not understanding this process, okay? Like, we gotta wait our turn. That one's not for us. That's one's theirs. Like, no. they see the French fries and they're like, dude, why is that not coming here to my plate? What the hell? I mean, that is the mentality, that is the emotional place that our young children are at. And if you have a child who is different, who shows up in this world unique as they are, like, this is an added complexity that they are learning, and it's our job as parents to really hold that space for, okay? So just sort of setting up this this situation is, we don't really do restaurants. It's much easier on me and my mental and emotional body to not do restaurants, with all the expectations, all the judgment that gets shot at me as a mother when my kids don't meet that list of rules and expectations. Sorry, Eric must have known I was talking about him, because now he's on the patio, so I've got like one eye on him and what he's doing. And also as well, Eric is very sensitive to sounds. And this particular diner was not big, and it was just packed with people who were there for lunch. So it was a very sensory overload experience just with the 5 senses. You start adding in how people in this diner were feeling, their emotions, frustrations, all that, okay? This is a child who can feel that like it's his own. So it's a very difficult place for him to be. So I actually took the kids to the bathroom, and then as we're walking back, I've really got my hand on Eric, and I'm trying to both guide him and also give him space. Eric doesn't like to be restricted and held down, so I have to be aware and mindful when I'm doing this, when I'm not doing this, like, what's the situation? You know, if we're going through a very busy parking lot, you better believe that I've got my hand on him, okay? And then there are other times where it's important for me to give him his freedom. So when I ask him to hold my hand, he's able to do so, and he's not resisting when I really need him to. So in that moment, I was both trying to just guide him and lead him, but just he was really getting overwhelmed, and he thought he knew the path to where Daddy was sitting at the table. So he just took off running. But that path was not the path past the tables. That path was in fact through where the servers were getting the food and filling up the water, right? So basically we went behind the counter, and there's this lady literally lifting up a plate of food as Eric goes rushing by. It was like, oh my God. Okay. And he goes rushing to Daddy, and he sits in his chair, and I go right to him. Now, I am an intuitive. I am a sensitive. I'm an empath. Let me tell you, the judgment and frustration and anger that was getting flung on me as the mother. Now, nothing bad, thankfully, happened. He didn't knock anybody over. No food went flying, because then, of course, I would have been responsible for it, and of course, I would not have complained about that. So nothing had happened, and yet there was this immediate expectation for me to yell at him, to berate him. And I wouldn't say, like, I could feel the energy too about, like, even spanking was in the field. So it was, right? So those are how we are taught, that authoritarian kind of parenting style that I was raised in. My parents were raised in, most of us, right? You're doing as you're told. If you don't listen, you get yelled at, you get a timeout, like all that kind of, you all will have your own journey of parenting, so there's no judgment whatsoever. You know, I've been there too, so, you know, I'm not a saint here. I am still practicing, I am still learning and unprogramming all my default parenting codes, okay? So I feel the judgment of others very deeply, very strongly. You should see my birth chart and all the Libra placements that I have going on there. So I really feel that. And it's very hard for me when that's being pushed onto me, and me knowing that going and yelling at Eric is not going to get results. Being angry with him isn't going to get results, okay? So that's who he is as a child. It's not going to work if you yell. It won't get in. There won't be learning that occurs. It's also not how I choose to parent. And yet, in that moment, everyone in that diner who witnessed this was wanting me to do just that. And I'll also say as well, to kind of give you an idea of the energy of this place, above the counter that Eric went running behind was a sign that said, I'm going to paraphrase here because I'm not going to get it right. It was, crying children are like good intentions. They should be taken outside. So I'm in a place that is not supportive of emotional safe space. I'm not in a place that is going to be understanding and allowing for a child to have the experience that they are having. So I was aware of that, and I knew where I was. And I made the choice to just kneel down beside Eric. He went hiding under the table because he knew what he did was wrong. He knew that he had made a mistake, and he could feel, again, the energy of everybody else, of me wanting, of them wanting me to yell at him. Sorry, parenting moment there. So I made the choice to do the opposite than what that sign was wanting me to do, which was not listen to my children, to not listen to my son. And yes, he made a mistake, and he didn't know when he went running that there are rules about not going where they're working with the food. Like, he didn't know, he wasn't aware. And how do I respond to that? It was not through yelling, it was not through getting mad and taking him outside, okay? Which again is what they all who were there wanted me to do. Instead, I just knelt on the floor beside his chair, and I had my hands on him. And I was just very calm. And I held that space, and when he would come and look at me, and I would just tell him, Eric, we don't do that. We don't go running back there. That's where the food is. Being very gentle with my words. So gentle and firm. So he knows, like, these, like, so it's important for me to teach him these boundaries and teach him these rules, but I need to do it in a way that he can learn, that he can understand, because again, he's different. You know, it's sometimes I'm not always sure of how much of the words that he knows and understands, especially when they get more complex and like nuanced, and when you can't see things, you can't see rules, for example. It's an abstract thing our words are creating. So I have to be very mindful of how I speak to that, and to do so in a way that he understands. And again, like, holding an emotionally safe space. He made a mistake. He didn't know. He didn't understand. Am I going to shame him for it? Am I going to guilt him about it? Am I going to tell him that he was wrong or he was bad for doing so? These are the kind of things, like our words can create, again, inner shame, inner guilt on our children without us being aware and realizing it. So I'm bringing to this moment deeper awareness. I'm wanting to teach him so he knows better for next time. I don't want to shame him. I don't want him to think that he's bad for doing so. I want him to be able to hear me and listen and learn. And it's okay to make mistakes. It is okay for our children to make mistakes, especially when nothing bad happened. It is okay for our children to feel, to express their emotions, to cry in a restaurant. And absolutely, like there is a point where you're like, yeah, you're not going to calm down here. This isn't working. The best thing for me to do is to take you out and put you into an environment that you can calm down, you can really express yourself. So it's a balance of being mindful and sensitive of others. But you know what, other people? We need to start being mindful and sensitive to our children and their feelings and their emotions, including our own emotions and our own feelings. If someone is crying in a restaurant because they're having a really hard day, wow. The greatest thing you could do is just to be in presence with that person. Or maybe send them, an iced tea from you to them to say, hey, I see you. I see that you're having a really hard time, and I'm going to sit there in that space with you. I'm going to sit in that discomfort of this moment, because that's what it means to be a human being, a good human being, a good parent. And I don't even like to use words like good and bad, but just to say, like, yeah, that's what it means to be human. And so for me in that moment to sit beside Eric with the judgment getting thrown at me like you wouldn't believe, and to hold that boundary and still be honorable to who he is and what he can do and what his understanding is. And one of the reasons that I'm going to be talking more and more about this, because we need to start seeing and acknowledging what this is. This emotional labor. This is invisible in our society. It is not seen, it is not valued, and it is the most needed medicine for all of us. We are all desperately wanting emotional safe space, emotional security, to be seen and to be held even when we're going through really hard moments. In fact, this is our collective human evolutionary direction. We have in astrology the south node of both Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn are in Capricorn. So this means we're coming from all these rules, all these structures and obligations where we weren't safe to feel. Okay, that's where we're coming from. That's the south node. The north node of these three planets are all in Cancer. Cancer is the mother. Cancer is the emotions. It is the home. It is emotional safe space. security. So I'm going to start talking more about that. I'm going to start sharing it and speaking to it, because that's the only way that the invisible can become visible. In fact, while we were at this restaurant, after we had this moment and we're waiting for our food, I wish I could say it came super quick. It didn't. The whole time I was sitting beside Eric, helping to regulate him, keeping him interested, keeping him entertained, like coloring with him, because there's that expectation of you need to sit there and wait calmly for your food to arrive. You know what I mean? And Sean looks over and he's like, wow, Eric is doing such a good job here. And I looked back at him and I said, my hand is on his back the entire time. He was right. Eric was calm and he was sitting there patiently and quietly. And that was only because of the work I was doing, and it was invisible. I had my hand on his back, rubbing him, soothing him, because I could feel the energy of this diner, okay? I cannot imagine what it felt like for him. So I was helping to ground him, to soothe him, to keep him, like, his focus off of all the stuff going on around him and onto like the Google Maps or the coloring that we were doing or the word puzzle that was on there. That was me. That was me holding that emotional safe space so he could be there in this diner with its rules and expectations, okay? All that Saturn, Capricorn, okay? That's what that is. I held that Cancer place for him so he could do that. And then as soon as we had our food, I took him out. I said, okay, Eric, we're going outside. And we went outside and found a tree and sat on the grass to further help ground him and to just clear out all of the stuff that we had both experienced in that tight, contained space with all the people and all the noise, the clanking dishes, the talking, the children that were crying, right? Like all of that. Took him outside so we could sit down and just breathe and let it out. So I hope that was helpful, that story that I shared, the experience that we had. And I think it's important, okay, when you have a child who's different, you're going to need to approach parenting from a completely unique angle, and it's going to be unique to you. Your child might be very different from Eric. I didn't have this problem with Kate, for example, but I really need to hold that space for Eric. And so for you, you might need to be going in with the earmuffs on. That might work for you, or maybe it wouldn't work at all, and you're just like, I need to take this outside. Can I have a to-go bag? You're all going to be different. We are all different. And so how you approach this way of parenting and this conscious parenting, peaceful parenting, there's so many words for it. It will still look unique and different to you, depending on who your child is, because you have to meet them where they are and what their unique needs are. And if you need help with that, please go to my website. There's a link in the description below. Send me a message. I offer coaching and consulting. I do birth chart readings for children as well. So if you want a deeper understanding of your child's sensitivities and how you can support them, especially in this very rule structure world, please send me a message. So like and subscribe to this channel if this resonates with you. I would hate for you to miss any upcoming videos that I have coming up. So yeah, thank you so much for watching and tuning in and sharing in this journey that I am on with my children, and I hope that it can be supportive and reflective of your own. So thank you so much, and I will chat with you soon. Bye-bye.